Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton. Thank you so much for coming with me on this day before Christmas Eve that we are here talking about the MAP plan. You know, the last week has been crazy because I've been back and forth to North Carolina. I'm back in North Carolina, and thinking about the care of my dogs has been huge. I'm now here with my grandkitty, Jane, and we've really made a lot of plans for her as well. So if you have a cat, a dog, a bird, a horse, making plans for the care of those pets is key, especially around the holiday times. I mean, this year we'll all likely be home with our pets, but if you're not home with your pets, making plans for your pets is key. I've learned so much in the past week because I actually left my dog, Roxy, with one of our listeners every week, Sally, because I tripped and fell here in North Carolina and sprained my ankle. Thank God I didn't break it. I only sprained it. But I realized that these things happen so often. And we really do need to have someone we can call right away in the event we need a break from walking the dog. I really couldn't have walked the dog this week. And you know, it's an important piece of information to have. The other thing I did this week, I'm speaking at the New York State Bar Association annual meeting for the Animal Law Committee, and I'm speaking about preparing for emergencies. I know you find that hard to believe, right? Because that's all I do every Wednesday is hammer home what it is that we all need to do who own pets. And I'm going back through all the animals who were taken into animal care and control because their owners were either affected or died of COVID. Because there's that lingering COVID effect that if in fact you get COVID, you are really weak going forward. I know nobody wants to talk about or think about the fact that something might be left over from COVID, but you really do need to. Hi, Sally. You really do need to make a plan. While I was putting this program together, we wanted to put something together that had to do with COVID, that had to do with making plans for COVID, what happened to animals during COVID. It's a 4-hour annual program, and I'm the last hour on preparing for emergencies. And you know that is my ultimate life. Janie, you're going to come over and say hi, honey? So I just want to let everyone know I just got to North Carolina. I drove up at 6:18 because that's how the angels work. And here I am with my community, wishing everyone a happy day before Christmas Eve, hoping that everyone in your family is okay. Sally, how are the girls? Mute, mute. Janie, come here, Janie Paney. Janie, come here. Psst, 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 psst. Janie, psst, 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 psst. Janie, Janie.
Anyway, the dogs are fabulous. They're sound asleep. They've gone for 2 walks in deep snow. And tomorrow evening, we are expecting 70-mile-per-hour winds,
Oh my goodness.
extensive power outages.
Oh, Toledo.
So we walked 5 miles in deep snow today, and the
They're
girls
sleeping it off.
they're sound asleep.
Yeah, they're sleeping off the long walk. You know, that is such a good thing to bring up because we have someone going by our home. So the MAP plan, make a plan, appoint caregivers, you know, give them instructions on how to care for your pets, address the pet's needs. So we have a generator, and that generator can be pushed outside and turn the house on because although I'm not there right now, my fish are. And if we lose power, the fish can only live about 12 hours without power. So we know that our caregiver knows what to do. We've instructed her, we've shown her, come use the generator, turn it on for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, which is about how long the gas lasts. Switch it off. They'll be fine for another 12 hours. Switch it back on because you don't think about that when you have reptiles or fish. That, okay, you've lost electricity, but you really need to keep them warm and you need to keep that filtration system going. So that's why making a plan and having caregivers, you know, fish need to be fed, which is the easy part, and fish need to be kept warm, even the, you know, less expensive tropical fish like we have. So it really is important to make a MAP plan and to assure that everyone knows what your plans are. So not only do I have someone coming in to take care of the pets and my girls one girl lives with Sally and the other one is staying with Sally, who is thrilled and probably will never want to come back. I also have the woman across the street who's going to look after the house. And if in fact we lose electric, she has a wonderful son who's going to come over and fill the generator up with gas if need be, if the other person can't come and take care. It really is about having redundancy. And I know when I put this program together for the New York State Bar Association in January, I'm going to talk about the need for attorneys to tell their clients about redundancy, because it is so very important. So I'm as I drove down here, I was thinking, wow, this has been such an incredible year with so many twists and turns. So many pets have become so important to us because a lot of us are home now. And so making sure you make that plan and you address their needs and you find caregivers that can come and work with the pets or take care of the pets when you're there or when you're not. Because as I was writing this program, I said, I have to remember about the refrigerator, the sign in the refrigerator. I have to remember the sign in the car. Because if you're traveling with your pet or your pet's home and you're traveling by yourself, who are they going to call? Where are those pets? If you've left them home or you've left them with a caregiver, I know that Sally knows, where the dogs are supposed to be, and we all have email. So it's something that if something happens, she knows to call me, and hey, it's only 11 hours. So I can hop right back in the car and come north. No worries if you lose power, Sally.
But it's interesting, Deborah, actually the call that just started ringing was our electric company. And they're saying charge your devices, possible power outages for several days. And so, we all make plans, but we don't think outside the box that there are these extreme situations. And our weather is just so bizarre right now with the fires and with
snow. I mean, you guys had how much snow? You had like 12 inches, right?
We had like 12 inches, and now we've got snow. Well, now we don't have snow. Now we have rain. And I'm like, really? So we're going to walk the dog.
50-mile-an-hour winds. And you don't think about thinking about your pet. You really don't. You think about charging your electronics because you need your phone, but you don't think about, what if I have to leave? What if I have to, if you don't have a generator or you don't have electric and it's 30 degrees or 20 degrees, what are you going to do? How are you going to keep your house warm? Do you have enough wood? If you don't have wood, do you have propane or whatever it is you need? It is this question that nobody asks. Hi, Connie. I'm so glad you're here. Happy almost Christmas Eve.
Thank you. Yes, Christmas Eve's Eve, right?
That's right.
But I apologize for being late. It's been since Kieran, who is not an American, is not on this call. I can say this to you ladies. Today, I felt like Butch and Sundance with the Pinkerton posse on my tail.
Yeah.
So at any rate, for those of us old enough to remember Butch and Sundance.
Yes, Butch and Sundance riding their butts off.
Absolutely. Who are those guys?
Who are those guys? They're good.
Yeah. So at any rate, speaking of, fires and all of that, we were dead calm here, but there were winds in the foothills and the mountains in North LA County and out into the desert in Ventura County. And because we're so dry, we were under a high fire danger warning yet again, even though it's cold. You can see the way I'm dressed, and cold for LA. Right. And at any rate, I have all 3 crates in the car with all 3 leashes and, ready to go if I've got to get out of here in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So yes, it's
incredible. It's really incredible. So last week we talked a lot about rescues and shelters. And Sally, you wrote me later on that night and said, I'd love to talk about this. There was a piece of it that you work with that you wanted to share, because it's really important that when people are on these calls, that I give them enough time, and I apologize because it's only a half hour, that they can tell their experiences, because it really helps everyone who listens to these programs later understand just how committed or just how curious you need to be before you get involved in certain situations. So tell us a little bit about what you wanted to share last week.
Well, I work with a local shelter, the Animal Welfare Society, New Milford, Connecticut. And we had a woman come in begging us to take this young female dog home. And it was, she just had to have the dog. We said, okay, we generally never give out a dog until it's been spayed or neutered. But I tell you what, in this case, the dogs had all the shots. So we will give you a coupon for the local vet closest to you. Tell us the name of the vet. We got the coupon to have the dog spayed. She said, perfect, I must have this dog. 6 months later, she brought the dog back to the shelter with a complete litter of puppies. And we said, but wait, we gave you the coupon. We paid for everything. She said, I was kind of busy. I just couldn't make it. And we're like, really? We had one dog. Now we have 8 dogs we have to place.
Yep. Yep. And that happens very often. And I understand rescue's desire to spay and alter. I actually have an alternate, which is why I mediate now. Because I had a case with a woman who took a dog home who was not spayed or altered. And the dog actually got pregnant on the truck from the puppy mill, in quotations, because this Cocker Spaniel group actually gets its dogs from this breeder. When the dogs are finished, she calls the rescue, and the rescue comes and gets the dogs and then places the dogs. And then she has the new crop come in. So it's not like they're shutting down a puppy mill. They're just removing the no longer profitable dogs, so to speak. So this dog came up and they gave it to this woman had adopted from them before, a male dog who had been altered. And she said, oh, I'll take her home. But she had a urinary tract infection, they thought, or maybe she did. And they dipped her in pyrethrin, how they do for fleas. And they gave her every vaccination known to man because she had no records. And then they sent her home with and then they sent her home with my client. And 5 weeks later, my client couldn't get her over the urinary tract infection. And so she took her to her own vet and found out the girl was pregnant. And so she called the rescue and said, I can't bring the dog in to be spayed right now because she's pregnant. And so I'm going to hold her until she's ready to whelp. I'll give her to you when she's ready to whelp. And then you can give her back to me. And the rescue said to her, and I think I might have told you ladies this story before, the rescue said to her, no, those puppies are ours. You have to give the dog back to us now. And so we had a whole litigation, which was stupid because she no more wanted those puppies than the man in the moon. She just wanted the dog for another 2 or 3 weeks till she was ready to whelp. And they wouldn't because they said the dog wasn't in a safe environment. I mean, as Connie and I can tell you, taking care of a pregnant dog simply means giving them really good food, a vitamin, and really fresh, clean water, and just making them comfortable. And if she's in a loving family home, that's so much better than being in a rescue situation with people she doesn't know when she has puppies. So in any event, at the end of the day, they sued her. I represented her. She got to keep the dog and the puppies because I'm just that good. And the problem was the rescue lost an adopter, because this was a second-time adopter, right? Who was a really good adopter who didn't want to keep the puppies. But you know how people get, if you're going to take something away from me, then I want it.
Right.
Right. So
right.
She no more wanted those 3 puppies than to fly to the moon, because the girl had 3 puppies, but she kept them all. And I mean, she was retired and she could, and she spayed and altered all of them. She wasn't having any more puppies. But you just sat there. You said the rescue should have taken the time to have a conversation. So I'm glad you shared that, Sally, because it is important for rescues to make sure the dogs are spayed or altered before they leave. And if they're not spayed and altered before they leave, because Connie and I were talking about the ramifications of spaying or altering a very young dog, especially if it's going to be a big dog.
Right.
It's a conundrum. It's an absolute conundrum, because if you can't trust the person, and how do you know? Because you're just meeting this person at a rescue. If you can't trust the person, how do you do what's best for the dog? Because I might have to risk the dog getting cancer later on because you have a hoople, and I mean that in the most loving way, everyone, adopting the dog who can't get the dog to a veterinarian with a free ticket to get it spayed or altered in a few months. So there is that question. And Connie and I likely have had that discussion with our owners. And I'm sure, Sally, they've had that discussion with the people who adopt at rescue. It mostly, I think, rescues. I know Irish Setter Club of America, and I'm sure Wheaton Terrier will not let a dog out of its sight until it's altered or spayed from rescue. Is that true, Connie?
That's absolutely a true statement. In fact, we are the only ones that can get a dog out of a shelter with a coupon, and we have to immediately, we the club, we the rescue team,
Yeah.
and we're a 501c3 in our SoCal Wheaton Club, and we have to absolutely provide veterinary documentation that we have done so. LA County and the surrounding counties around here will not release a dog unless it's been spayed or altered for adoption to to a private party. And as we have discussed on this call before, what's really problematical is if your dog is lost or taken from a show site and it is a grand champion that you have in your breeding program and it winds up in a shelter, it's altered when you get it back.
Yeah.
And so, that is not right either.
It really is a difficult question, because
it is.
It's the argument is you should have had better control of your dog. And we all know that sometimes they slip leads. Sometimes they, my Roxy got away from me because she could walk the 12-foot length of a fence that was doubled up. And she found that she could go between the two pieces of fence and walk straight through and then get out to the street. Now, it's 12 feet of fence that I didn't zip tie together because, there's no way that she can see that these are two pieces of fence laying next to each other. And if she puts her nose in, she can walk 12 feet with fence on either side to get out. But alas, as Sally will attest, she is the smartest girl, except maybe for Athena, or they might be tied, so that she found a way to get out. And then I had to zip tie the fence closed. But it is a conundrum, and we as breeders really mentor. Rescues have a difficult, and shelters have a difficult situation because the dogs are brought in. Owners want to take them. Owners have no idea the health risks of spaying and altering early, or the risks of getting pregnant if they don't spay and alter early because they're not paying attention. And that brings in what our wonderful Kieran always says: you have to have responsible ownership training before you take a dog.
Absolutely. And in fact, let me bring up another facet of responsible dog ownership, again, on the side of those of us who are in the show world, the breeding world, etc. And not all of us are responsible as,
mentorship is not one of our strong suits. We can tell you what to do, but we're not going to mentor you.
But let me bring up one big concern, given that we are a COVID concerned group.
Yep.
AKC in Orlando. Deborah, I know that you have seen the missives coming out of AKC headquarters with, trickling out, including from Brandy Hunter, the vice president of PR and communications. The last that came from her, which was actually verified by a friend of mine in my obedience club who knows her.
Yeah.
Because she does confirmation and obedience too. And so she emailed her and said, Brandy, did this really come from you? And Brandy emailed her back, and I have a copy of it. Yes, this is really from me. Brandy sent out a note the end of last week that originally there were 2 judges who tested positive for COVID.
Right, at the Judges Institute, and one took ill on the airplane and had to be carried out of the airplane. Yep.
Right. And now there are 4.
Yeah.
Now, according to a breeder judge friend of mine in Wheaton's from Northern California, there are 7. And she has been, kept abreast through all the AKC, judges, email groups, and so on and so forth. In addition to the judges now, we have 3 absolutely top flight professional handlers in California down from COVID.
Yep.
2 of them are Gabriel and Yvonne Ronhell, from an hour and 15 minutes from me in Rialto, San Bernardino County, where they are putting patients in hospitals there in the lobby areas.
California doesn't have many beds left, if any.
None. We are down to 1.5% ICU bed capacity through the entire state, and we have been at zero now for the past week and a half in Southern California, all of Southern California. So Gabriel and Yvonne are down with it. Gabriel is on oxygen, and I have this from a good friend of mine who is best friends with them, and their daughters who are in college have been best friends growing up. Gabriel and Yvonne handled my two girls in very, very big dog shows when I felt that I needed some firepower.
Right.
So I know them very, very well. And I was very distressed to hear this. And in addition, they did, Yvonne stayed home. Gabriel went to Orlando, brought it home. She hasn't had any symptoms, but she just got tested yesterday and the results hadn't come back. Another top flight handler who always winds up in either the group or best in show, multi-breed, multi-group handler, Amy Rutherford.
Yeah.
Who I know you know her, Deb. She lives northwest of Sacramento. She got sick on her way to Orlando at one of the Dallas shows that was like the weekend before, and she had to come home. And another Wheaton friend of mine up in LA has her dog with Amy and can't get him back.
Yeah, no, you can't, because you can't really risk, not that the dogs transmit COVID per se. However, you really don't want to expose yourself, especially if you're over a certain age, which
we all are.
All of us happen to be on this call. We're over 21. No, I'm only kidding. So, I'm so glad you shared that, because, here we are, we're coming to the holidays, and we've been asked by the CDC to stay home. This is after the big dog show in Orlando that should never have happened, but I digress.
Yes.
And I actually posted on Facebook, on my business Facebook and on my personal Facebook and on LinkedIn, the letter that came to the judges telling them that some judges had come down with COVID. And I said, this should go to every participant in the AKC event, because these judges, first of all, there were breed hands-on. So there were breeders or handlers who brought breeds to the Judges Institute so the judges could put their hands on the dogs. So they were with the judges that were sick. So these are handlers and exhibitors who went back to the handlers and exhibitors. And there was you cannot social distance when you're showing a dog. You can wear a mask, you can use hand sanitizer.
You're right now with the judge.
But you have to show them the bite, and you have to hold them, and maybe you can maintain a 3-foot difference, but you cannot maintain a 6-foot difference. So it just mesmerized me that AKC didn't feel the necessity to make sure that they could let everyone know that somebody got sick. I think if just one person got sick at this show. And that's why when I talk about the MAAP plan, these people are professional handlers who I'll bet have help in their kennel. And that help probably knows what to do. But if they're all close to each other and in close proximity, they all might get sick. Right. So who do they have in that second tier? So you have the handlers, then you have the handlers' helpers. I guess it's a third tier then. It's the owners. And maybe they could call the owners to come and take the dogs. But that would be something that may be impossible for some owners, because, we're all supposed to be staying put. So you might not be able to come, or you might have an underlying issue that you can't come and get your dog. So you've brought up a huge consideration when your dogs, are with people showing them, and with other people. You just don't know. I'm glad that the person turned around and went home from Dallas and didn't continue to Orlando. But these are scary times. So making a plan for the care of your pets is key. And I know, Sally, you have, and I know Connie, you have, and of course I have, and Rose has no pets yet, so she's not making a plan. But as we celebrate Christmas and as we celebrate the holidays, I just want to say that I'm so grateful that all of us are still here. All of us are still healthy. We've been here since late March, early April. I'm grateful. And because I'm in North Carolina and I've only just gotten here, I'm going to go join my husband and my son. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and a happy, healthy, safe New Year. I can tell you that Jim and I are wearing masks because we haven't seen Drew and Drew hasn't seen us. We actually rented an Airbnb, so 2 of us are staying at the Airbnb and 2 of us are staying at the house so that we have social distancing. We're really taking it seriously, folks, and so should you. Merry Christmas, Sally. Merry Christmas, Connie, and I'll see you next week before the new year.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Merry Christmas to
Merry
all of you.
Christmas.
Please tell
Merry
Drew
Christmas.
for
Thank
being
you.
in LA, he's safer with mom and dad than
Yeah,
he
he
is.
is. He's safer in North Carolina. You're absolutely right. So this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, and the MAP plan during COVID, and also Why Do Pets Matter, the podcast. Please listen and comment, and I'll see you next Wednesday, same time, same station. Merry Christmas, everyone.